In this chapter, I'm going to talk about transitions. Transitions are effects that take viewers from one clip to the next. There are all kinds of reasons to use transitions, and I'm going to run through those reasons here in this lesson. Then I'm going to explain some of the details about how to apply transitions and how to customize them in upcoming lessons. Here are some reasons to use transitions. When you go to a new place or time, you can use a transition to send that message to your viewer. Basically saying, look, we're going to someplace different now, or this is going to be a different time. When you move between similar scenes, the viewers might not get that you've gone to a different scene, to a different clip. So use the transition to let them know, look, this is a different scene, something different is going on here. Sometimes you might have an edit that will probably throw people off, a jarring edit, a scene change, a jump cut, like in the middle of an interview where you got two sound bites that look almost identical and you want to make sure that they don't sort of cause people to do a double take. So to deal with that, you apply a transition. There's a mantra in the editing world that if you can't solve it, dissolve it. Meaning if you've got this jump cut and there's just no way, you didn't have a cutaway, there's no way to fix it, you put a transition there to take care of that. Sometimes you use transitions to match on-screen action, just to kind of emphasize the on-screen action. You might have a car moving left or right across the screen, and you can have a transition that matches that action, like a wipe that also goes left or right. And then you might want to enhance the mood. Sometimes you've got these kind of quiet scenes where you got, let's say, tropical fish or flowers or autumn leaves, and you don't want to have cut edits. You really want to gradually go from one scene to the next, so you use something like a cross dissolve to do that. There's one more reason to use transitions that I didn't put here, and that reason is to use transitions because you can. But you really shouldn't use transitions because you can use them. People tend to look at transitions and go, wow, this is really cool, look at all the great stuff we can do here, it'll be fun to do this. And in fact, it's disruptive. You really don't want to disrupt the flow of your story with a transition just because you can throw a cool transition in there. You want to use them for a reason, and here are good reasons to use them. And the one bad reason to use them is because I can use a transition. So my one little message is, use transitions with restraint. Let's take a look at these 5 circumstances and how transitions have been used to help them. I've created a project that is just a demonstration, but if you'd like to follow along, feel free. Go to Working Files, Projects, and then open up 0801 Trying Transitions. So I've got 5 sequences here matching the 5 topics from that PowerPoint presentation. First one is we're changing a place or time. In this case, we're changing the time from autumn here to winter. So we want to tell folks that, look, we're changing some time here. We're going to a new time. So you do that by putting in a transition. In this case, it's a pretty obvious transition. Like so, opening up those doors there. And notice the color of the border there. The color of the border was lifted from this image. You can do that. You can put these borders around here and take colors that match the scene so they too aren't too jarring. There you go. That's pretty obvious that we're going to a new place and time, right? Let's go to the next one here. Similar scenes. I got the shot of the stream here of that bird. Same stream, different bird. Same stream, different bird. So I want to make sure people know we're showing them a different bird. And so one way to do that is with the transition. I start by using a cross dissolve because here we are at the stream. It's kind of calm and peaceful, so a cross dissolve is a nice way to start the piece there. But I want to go to the next scene here and say, whoop, we're going to the next scene here, different bird. Here we go. So I got this iris here, and the iris starts on that bird. You can move the iris wherever you want to and have it start. So I have it start on that bird there. Pull out. Pretty obvious we're going to some different shot now. Over here, I'm going to make it pretty obvious that we're going to a different scene using a different technique called a push. Just kind of, whoop, push that guy out of the way. Again, the border color was lifted from these scenes here. So I'm using these transitions to say to the viewers, look, we're going to a different scene. It's a similar location, it's a similar bird, but it's in fact a different bird. Sometimes you need to ease jarring edits. Now here we have this interview shot there, and we want to put 2 bites together, that soundbite and this soundbite, and they're very similar, there to there. But the viewers might notice this kind of a little jump cut at the intersection where we put those 2 bites. And let's just pretend that I didn't shoot cutaways, which I did, of course, I did shoot cutaways, but in this instance, we didn't shoot any cutaways. We have no way to cover up that shot. So we do that old editor's trick of when you can't solve it, you dissolve it. In this case, I'm going to do what's called a page flip or a page swap. Here we go. Let's watch this. Like that. And some people might think that's a little too disruptive, but I want to make sure it's obvious that we're going from one bite to the next. So you can do that. Or some people might prefer a different kind of transition. Some people, when they put 2 bites together like that, they use what's called a dip to white. Let me show you how that works. Go to Video Transitions, go to Dissolve, scroll on down here. Change it to a dip to white. You can replace transitions that easily. Let's take a look here. Dip to white. There you go. Sometimes you use transitions to kind of enhance the on-screen action. Here we've got the shots of the bicyclists going more or less left to right. They're also coming toward the camera, but more or less left to right. So we can have a transition kind of follow that motion. Here we go. Here, like that. Going to the next scene. That's called a wipe. And again, that had a border on it as well. Notice a little border there. Again, the color was lifted from the scene to make it so it's not too obtrusive. I could have changed the color to something really garish, but let's not do that, okay? Finally, we're going to set the mood. We've got these shots of flowers here. And so again, when we got shots like this where things are kind of peaceful, we start with a little cross dissolve to start things off. Got this young lady walking along with her dog and dissolve to all these shots, one shot to the next, just to kind of make it go a little more comfortably. This is a peaceful, quiet setting. You don't need to have cut edits here. You can have little dissolves. And you can have these cross dissolves or any other transition like this last as long as you like. You can customize them, and we'll talk about customizing them in some upcoming lessons. But there you go. There are various ways to use transitions and various reasons to use transitions. And I remind you again that you should use transitions with restraint.